This video is made for you if you shoot the A7S, any of the three, with Canon lenses and adapter. Let's get into it. Number one, it's not possible to update lens firmware on the EF lens. So all the glass that's made with EF mount is stuck in the past. Literally, it can't ever do anything other than what it was designed to do when it came off the assembly line in Japan, wherever it was made. So it's stuck. And in this technology filled world, why would you want to do that? You want your glass to continue to evolve as well as the cameras that you're purchasing. So if you already have an A7S or an A7S2 or 3, why would you do that? FX3, same deal. The USM AF motors in Canon glass dates back to 1987. Those AF motors are 37 years old at this juncture. Do you think that there's any chance that those are going to perform as well as a brand new Sony lens with its, especially the dual linear AF motors? Not a chance. Number three, Canon wide-angle lenses used on gimbals especially do not have the correct flange back distance to yield really sharp edges in the corners of the Sony's sensor. If you think back about the reason why you're using an adapter, it's because the focal plane of the sensor is much closer for a mirrorless camera because there's no mirror box. There's nothing flapping up and down when you're taking stills. When you go to video, that mirror flips up and stays up, but now you got this big void that you're shooting light through. And so you're projecting light through that void, that mirror box, to get to the sensor. And you'll really never get good edge sharpness in the corners of a wide-angle lens that's made by Canon with an adapter on a Sony A7S. It's just not going to happen. You've got to use a lens designed for that flange back distance because the projection is completely different. Number four, the Sony A7S cameras, as advanced as they are, they can't repair chromatic aberration, distortion, and other optical issues that are taken care of with Sony glass. So when Sony lenses are put on Sony bodies, the body knows exactly what lens has been put on it. And it knows the weaknesses of that lens and can correct them as it's shooting. So there's enough microprocessing power in Sony bodies to actually do this on the fly, even at 120 frames a second in 4K. So this is a huge reason why you should be using Sony glass instead of adapted Canon glass. Number five, the ice-cold accuracy of Sony glass on Sony bodies is missing if you're using adapted glass with Canon. This is absolutely the case. So you may not think you're missing much because it does work really well, but it's not working at the level it should or could be. And this is a problem. There's no optical steady shot in an EF lens, and therefore there's no handshake with IBIS. Now, why this is important is that the in-body image stabilization that Sony has in its A7S cameras is pretty spectacular by itself. You already know that because you've been experiencing that with Canon glass. But when you use a lens with OSS in it, or optical steady shot, it will allow you another 2 full stops of steadiness. So you can get up to 7 stops of steady shot doing that. Why wouldn't you want to do that? There are times when you just have to make a decision to pull the camera off the sticks and go do something. And it's in those situations where it would be great if you had the OSS helping you as well as the IBIS at the same time. Number seven, Canon glass is heavier and bulkier. Your Sony body, it can probably hold that weight, but why would you want to drag all that around? I know it's cheap and all, but still, come on. Number eight, many Canon EF lenses were made specifically for film. Now, on its best day, film is about 6 megapixel. So even if you're shooting an A7S at 12 megapixel, the sensor in the camera could be outrunning your glass by double, and that's not good. Number nine, modern Sony glass is sharper than old Canon EF glass. Now, I'm not going to get into a pissing match with people about whether RF glass is sharper than the Sony FE glass. I think it's all really, really good at this point. But for sure, the EF glass, it doesn't hold a candle to the FE glass. It's just not the same. And so why wouldn't you want to use the best glass for what you're doing? Number 10, The Sony dual linear motors are in most lenses now. It seems like everything they make has them in it, even the new compact primes. This autofocus system, this dual linear XD autofocus system, is unbelievable. It's so fast, but more importantly than fast, it's sharp. Because in video, let's face it, you don't need fast autofocus. In fact, that would mess you up. But you can get a beautifully organic look by slowing down the autofocus speed. But when you don't have a camera that's ever hunting or missing, it means you don't have to redo that shot or whatever. It just makes for a great take all the way around. So these are my top 10 reasons why, if you're shooting an A7S or an S2 or an S3 or an FX3, you really ought to get with the program and get to the Sony glass. The quicker you do, the better off you're going to be and the better results you're going to get from your film. Thanks so much for watching.